Well, we're going to start this video off a little bit different. What I want is for you to do something. Below will be a link to this company, and there's a little video box. I don't want to watch it. It's about 2 minutes long. Then I'm going to tell you a story. Good. I'm glad you watched it. It's very important you watch this because my friend did me a favour. He contacted this company on my behalf and he talked to the sales department, and I was listening on the line at the time to the telephone conversation, so I am privy to what was said there. And lo and behold, the usual spiel of sales, etc, etc. It was like a normal telephone call, very friendly, very normal. Everything was fine. Then we finished our conversation, put the phone down. I thought nothing more of it. I then get a text message from my friend stating that not only did they ring his home number up, but they also rang his mobile number up, both of which he didn't give them. Both of his numbers are blocked and he's in another country. And when he spoke to his service provider, they didn't believe him at first because you're not allowed to be able to do that. But the story gets even worse. You see, not only did they ring him up, they also told him where he lived and who the phone was registered to. They gleaned all this information in a short time using this process of Shadownet. That leads me to the story that's been spun out about this Shadownet. Have we noticed the craziness at the moment because of this Shadowgate film, that now the company beginning with C or Clear, you know, the one, has removed all its information of board of directors, and then the other sites included with their board of directors have been removed as well. Also at the same time, the Wayback Machine also has removed all that information. Fascinating. Then today I find that Steve Bannon's been arrested to do with fleecing money out of Build the Wall. It's getting more interesting by the day, don't we think? But this leads back again to this Shadownet story. You see, Shadownet is hardware. And the other day on We've Read the Documents, where the great John Brissam had a fantastic interview with our friend Mr. PFC Patrick Bergie. Lots of questions in there, and he was very forthcoming. It was a really nice conversation. It was a very good interview. Very, very good interview. But what was really enlightening about that interview was when Bergie was questioned on Shadownet, he obfuscated, he skirted around it. He didn't give a clear answer. There are many other things that Mr. Bergie has stated that I'm going to go into. Again, this brings me down to the question, is this an influence of George Webb, or is it something else? It's important that we ask the questions. So, without further ado, let's go into what I'm about to do, is show you something. I want you to take in what I'm doing. And also, this is not a personal attack. This is me saying, hang on, this smells. It smells like a rotten fish from top to bottom. And that's why I did the research. But then I found something. And it's that something I want to show you. It's that something I want to talk about. Because there's something amiss in Mr. Bergie's story. Let's go. So you obviously went to this site, and like I said, you listened to this video. If you haven't, you should go back and do so before we carry on forward. It's important you understand what this system is. Well, let's talk about Mr. Patrick Bergie, Executive Director MOPS Networks Incorporated. MOPS Network is a veteran-based non-profit corporation registered in Florida. It is duly recognized by the state of Florida and the IRS as a 501c3 tax-exempt organization. I founded MOPS Networks in April of 2014 as a way to provide active duty military veterans, their families and other veterans-based non-profits with a secure online social media and collaboration portal. We do this by using the same Microsoft tools, topography, taxonomies and other applications I designed and developed for the Department of Defense using partnerships. I developed with Microsoft, VFW, Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Library of Congress and others. We hold event benefits, our military gaming community, PTSD research and Library of Congress Veterans History projects, just to name a few. Very, very, very nice, very important to take that information in. Knowledge Management Officer, April 2010 to May 2015, so he obviously started this in Korea. I performed as the Information Management Officer, Knowledge Management Officer for the USFK J8 Directorate and in its 3 divisions. Daily responsibilities of approximately 75 users and 100 plus workstations. Core responsibilities included either compliance, SharePoint portal design of Directorate, dashboards, site continuity and web parts. So that's there. Then we got Knowledge Management Consultant for Leone. Okay. In Afghanistan. So he's working for a company called Leone in Afghanistan in February to April of 2010 for 3 months. I developed and maintained network documentation and security protocols for commercial non-attributable networks, as well as a designed SharePoint web parts, developed search taxonomy for Centrifix ISAF SPR classified Department of Defense networks. Dynology Corporation System Administrator, October 2008 to February 2010, 1 year 5 months. I assisted, develop and support the ION commercial network for CENTCOM. Primary responsibilities: SharePoint administration for secure ION portal, SQL database support, Active Directory integration and network security, retina scanning, IVA SDK compliance for over 350 users. Instrumental in development and implementation of non-attributable network for the ION, consider virtualized vMalware XP workstations with a cloud environment using anonymizing proxy and a DNS servers. Perform rapid clone NetApp deployment on new release builds for compliance and upgrades. Additional responsibility including SPSS, PASW, administrator for modular, test and experience softwares applications. Knowledge Management Officer, October 2007 to October 2008, 1 year month, Baghdad, Iraq. Responsible for the design and implementation of maintenance and troubleshooting, compliance, security, ISA, virtualized VM, non-attributable DoD networks in support for psychological warfare, PSYOP, interactive internet activities, IRA, USG websites for the JPOTF Joint Psychological Operations Task Force. Additional responsibilities included design, development of SharePoint collaboration portals, multilingual for analysts, as well as providing database support, design specifications, tutorials, training, and all network administration guides. So in 2010 he was in Afghanistan, and in 2008 he was in Iraq, where he was stating that he created a social networking PSYOP. Well, this niggled me because these places are both war zones and both of them are backwaters of the world. So I did a bit of digging, as you do, because here are Signal Support Specialist, Senior Network Administration for Florida Heart and Vascular Center, where he was in Afghanistan from April 2007 to September 2007 for his 6 months tour. He joined in October 2005 and left after October 2007, 2 years, 1 month. in the Signal Support Specialist. Responsible for all data services, including TSSCI. So he was in the signals, basically. Video teleconferences, command intelligence briefs in support of US coalition and NATO forces, hands-on experience providing collection management, intelligence, surveillance, recognition, blah blah blah. Designed and implemented an interactive SharePoint web portal used for daily remedy support requests, application of file access, as well as a workstation and material knowledge base used to provide a simple, seamless transitional rotation of personnel. So he's an IT whiz kid. Not going to argue. This is his LinkedIn page. So we know 2010 Afghanistan, 2010 Afghanistan, 2007 Baghdad. Well, let's go. Oh, that's the letter, which we'll get back to in a minute. Afghanistan. Internet World Stats usage of population statistics. So in 2010, there were about 1 million users out of a population of about 30 million, which made up about 3.4% of the population was on the internet. How is that going to be useful in a psychological warfare on that? Afghanistan again, 2010, states 4% again. You know, this is data here, so it's either 3.44% of the population is actually connected to the internet in 2010. Surely Iraq, you know, Iraq's going to be even more. Internet World Stats for Iraq in 2008, 1%. Only 1% of the society was using internet. In 2009, 1%, and by 2010, 1.1% of the society was using internet. If you go to this guy's page, which is Psychological Operations in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom 2003 by SGM Herbert A. Freeman, retired. He goes through what they did, which was drop in leaflets, all this information. As you can see, it's a long piece there, which I'll link below. It's a very interesting read. It's fascinating, in fact, in many parts. But it shows all the things they were doing to dropping down paper and information to the people and handing out leaflets, etc., to win over the population, which is known as a hearts and minds process. As you can see, it's a very big, long part there. In this article here is because how Iraq turned off the internet. Now this was written on July 2016. I want to take us to this paragraph here. For Iraq's 4.8 million internet users, a figure that represents just 11% of the population, although this has grown from 0.1% in 2001. The outages are likely to continue. There's no other country on earth, says Madori, that's blocked internet connections while exams are taking place. It seems pretty disproportionate, he concludes. So, how would the social media psychological warfare be working in a country that, like Afghanistan, has 4% of the population on the internet, and in the case of Iraq, at that time was only 1% of the population, which grew to 2016 to only 11% of the population. This perplexed me even more. So we've got to talk about a bit of Shadownet here, because this is on the American Awakening, which is Mr. Bergie's page. There's no things there. Think of the Shadownet as a social media fake news project management tool. No, Shadownet is not that. It's an information gathering system that if you contact anything, it will instantly gather your information and store it. How do we know this? Well, if we go to Dynology, it's hardware. Shadownet hardware. But it's this bit here we want to look at, the software. Like for instance the IPSI influence tool, we need to know a bit more about that. The knowledge management tool, we need to know more about that, because Shadownet is a very massive complex thing when you start looking at it, and that's the whole point. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but that's the whole purpose. You see, when I started doing all my research, when somebody would say, oh, uranium-1, I'd look the other way, which is how I found Skolkovo. When they talked about Burisma, that's how I found Privat Bank. When they talked about, the Maidan uprising, well, we know that was created by the tech schools run out of the US Embassy in Kiev. Can prove all that, which the NGOs and everything else were involved with. There was a big hoo-ha, and in fact in 2013 the Ukrainian parliament brought this to the attention about they were concerned of these tech schools. Spy tech, Shadownet remote spy. So you can buy a Shadownet thing. Well, let's go to the site there. Spy anywhere. Ever want to monitor your home PC from work? Want to monitor PCs across your corporate network from your web browser? Do you want the ability to remote control, administrate and monitor remote computer spy anywhere? Is your solution. Keystroke Spy. Keystroke Spy is an extremely easy to use computer monitoring product. Keystroke Spy, while being able to log all keystrokes typed by users without them knowing, can also be set to capture screenshots on all activities. Is this starting to really understand what this is? This is about information gathering. It has nothing to do with social media. Shadownet, our story. Shadownet Private Limited is a network infrastructure solution provider in the Maldives since it was first founded in 2013. As a local partnership, we have grown involved as a company. All to do with IT and this shadowing of what's going on. Like I said, watching that video, it starts to make complete sense. Well, let's go back. Is it that one? Yeah, this one here, which was the Inspector General, Department of Defence, Patrick Bergie. You allege that the management officials reprised against you for making protected disclosures. Now, this really perked my, what shall one say, curiosity, because it didn't fit with the other two narratives he's talking about, but in this one, which is the official letter, it says that he was reprised against for making protected disclosures. Well, what was that about? Well, I'm going to take you now on this journey. Systems and method for electronically monitoring employees to determine potential risks. Systems, methods and computers, machines for electronically monitoring an employee's behaviour to identify risks are described. A method includes receiving first data from legal databases. That includes information regarding legal activity relating to the employees receiving second data from financial databases. So you can see this is an information gathering group. So Dynology and the other one, ClearForce, are another form of NSA. They are collecting all the information. And I know this is Dynology because this is the patent. Jim Jones III, who is the son of General James Jones, 2015 application filed by Dynology Corporation was in 2016. In fact, the 26th of August 2016. Wasn't shortly, so I believe they run a ghost one to start off with, to try it out before they trademarked it, before they patented it. They set it up in their own company, and they were spying on their own staff. I think this is where the story is really going to start getting interesting. Here we have systems and method for electronic monitoring employees to determine potential risk. Here we have the document made available under the Patent Corporation Treaty, PCT. There's the patent itself, given to Mr. James L. Jones, suffix the third. City Chantilly, State Province VA, Country of Residence US. System and method for detecting employee-related risk. So that's the name change to employment-related risk. So this, in itself, will go to the diagram. Determine target employee. Employee consent. Yes, access social network databases. Request consent from employee. Consent received. Yes, access social network databases. No. Generate report of non-consenting employee. Receiving social networking data. Access legal information networks. Receive legal data. Access bankruptcy databases. Access credit reporting databases. Access real property databases. Access consumer reporter agency databases. Receive financial data. Access financial institution databases. Receive electronic activity data. Aggregate data. Generate behavioral model. Analyze behavior related information. Determine legally protected information. Additional information received. No. Continue employer monitoring. Yes. Anomalies. No. Generate report indicating no anomalies. Obviously, if it's a yes, generate alert without legally protected information. I bring that to your attention because that sounds like a social credit system like China has. Except this is what's being used to spy on people working in companies or working for the government. In other words, what this is doing is gathering all your data and storing it and then assessing you by a model your loyalty to the company or your disloyalty to the company, whether you're a security risk or whether you're not a security risk, what your finances are, what your lifestyle is, whether you are compromised or not compromised. This computer program is so intrusive. It was designed in 2016, and I believe it was used first of all in the company Dynology as a dry run, and with the fact of that, when Mr. Patrick Bergie was released in May of 2015 after 5 years 2 months, but on his whistleblower he then went to the defence hotline on September the 30th 2015 alleging reprisal under Title 10. Again goes back to this line here: reprised against you for making protected disclosures. I also want to bring another piece to our attention, which is for the offshoot, is remember that the internet was then changed over in 2016 by Obama by handing over the ICANN to the United Nations. A lot of people said this was a bad idea. But why was that a bad idea? Well, you see, this is about the Bill of Rights and the Fourth Amendment for the Americans, but it also covered anybody else worldwide. This gets round that problem. You don't have to worry about the American Constitution because it's now in the United Nations, so they could do whatever they want. It's important you understand the information I'm giving you here and to look at it at a more clearer way. Instead of all this noise and nonsense going on, let's ask Mr. Bergie exactly what this system was. The system and method for electronically monitoring employees to determine potential risk. Because it's that question that needs to be answered by Mr. Bergie, or somebody needs to answer that as to what that is. And I don't think it's innocuous. I do think that is very something sinister here. So is the reason why these managing directors and everything, all their pages are disappearing, is because of programs like this? Is this the tip of the iceberg, that we're finding these social engineered programs that are actually generating information about people, storing it on there and collecting all this data? Which goes back to 2013 when Edward Snowden released all that information. So the NSA had been compromised by Snowden. So what did Hayden do? Did Hayden create an alternative NSA, but this time in the private sector, creating it through Dynology, creating ClearForce, and ClearForce is the new form of the NSA? I'm asking this question because it is a question that needs to be asked. Did Hayden and Jones create an alternative NSA which is above the law, cannot be checked because it's a private commercial company, using the tools like Shadowgate and this software like System and Method for electronically monitoring employees to gather data on people to assess who they are and build a model up of that person? It's a very, very interesting question, don't you think? And of course, if we go back to this site here with Real Analytics, and I do not recommend anybody rings this company up whatsoever, brings me to the question there of other people on the internet that have stated how they can locate people just like that. I'm going to ask the question. It's not an accusation. I'm asking the question: Are these people using the same kind of technology? It's something that we need to understand as to how big this really is, because it has nothing to do with social media management. It's all about people management by gathering the information on them and exactly who they are and what they are, and building up a clear picture of that person. In other words, whether they could be compromised, whether they could be used as an asset, whether they are a liability, whether they should be removed from a job without them even knowing they're all of a sudden out of a job, because the computer is saying this person is a liability. I want you to think long and hard on what I just showed you there, because this just scared the heebie-jeebies out of everybody. Because I think we're just scratching the surface of what is truly going on here. And upon that, I'll say toodle pips.